It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
All right, we are live.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com, and FightfulSelect.com. This show brought to you ad-read free by FightfulSelect.com. We have a new dark match commentary up on Fightful Select. We're going to have the Fightful Wrestling Weekly up early. Lots of stuff over there. I'm going to do a UFC rankings breakdown. I'm joined today by Jimmy Van, who actually decided to show up to work for once.
Nice hickey on your neck there, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. You did that. You told me the joke was coming. I told you how terrible the joke was. I cut myself
I don't
shaving.
care. Yeah, I don't care.
And you went full board with it, and you had the balls to do it in those glasses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That made it even better. It did.
My God.
I'm wearing the glasses because I'm tired. I don't normally wear contacts, but I'm tired, so my vision, isn't 100% otherwise. So that's why I'm wearing them. Let me tell you, Sean, this is a hard week for me, this one. And I've said to you a few times that I almost canceled the podcast. If I didn't cancel today, Sean, no, listen to me, man. If I didn't cancel today, I never will, because this is a very hard week. I put together this list over my lunch break. I took a lunch break, stayed in the office to put the list together. I'm moving this week, so it's been a hard week. I even just noticed looking down, I'm accidentally wearing short socks with pants. So when the pants roll up, it looks like I'm wearing capris. And I didn't even notice. I just looked down. Oh, look, I'm wearing short socks with pants. So good for me.
You don't wear capris?
I try to reduce it to special occasions.
Fair.
So not wearing them today. But, this is my only day in this week. I'm off the rest of the week because I'm moving. And you know what, Sean? What better way to start the show than with a moving-related story? Because there was a guy on YouTube that said that I got more stories than Walt Disney. And even though I realized that he was saying that as part of his attempt to shit on me, you know that I don't care about that kind of stuff. So all I saw was, I really don't. So
you cater to those YouTube commenters all the time. You're like, you'll see one, you'll be like, you know what? We should do some of this.
You know what? What I do is I like to educate people, because people post things ignorantly, Sean. People post things because they're uneducated sometimes. I want to educate, man.
Well,
that's what I'm doing.
Fortunately, at least one of us likes the people who watch this show, and that's me.
I never said I don't, but I just want to educate the dumb fucks. That's all. That's all I want to do. So first and foremost, if you guys can hear another voice in here, Melissa's joining us today, because Nigel's taking vacation on a date that he's not sure of. But even still, Melissa's going to learn how to produce, and then she's going to produce in his absence. And I've already told Melissa, you got to be careful because you're a female, and there's going to be guys wanting you on camera, and So I've told her to be careful of that. She's aware. So let me tell you a story, Sean. Let me ask you a question first.
Okay.
Have you ever dealt with people that were casual wrestling fans like 20, 30 years ago? And the combination of they were casual fans and time has made their recollection not quite accurate.
Oh, yeah.
You've dealt with that,
Sure.
right? Let me tell you a story. So I have an LJ and action figure collection, right? The WWF LGNs. I sent Sean a picture of my new cabinets and everything. And one of the more valuable ones from that line was the Ultimate Warrior Black Card from Series 6, it was called, in 1989. I only know of a few that exist in the package, and I've got 2 of them. And so I post them side by side just because it's a valuable one, right? I had a contractor over this week that's helping with stuff in the house. He sees the 2 Ultimate Warrior things in the cabinet, and he goes to me, "Oh, I was a big wrestling fan, man, in the late 80s and early 90s, and they were my favorite." That's a direct quote. "They were my favorite." And I go, "Who was your favorite?" He goes, "The Ultimate Warriors. They were my favorite." And I go, "Really? How were they your favorite?" "Oh, they were just the best. They were the ones I really liked, and they were great." And so finally I said, "Okay, man, there was just one. There was one guy."
He probably meant the Road Warriors.
That's what I was thinking. But he was very specific about Ultimate Warrior and the muscles and the tassels, and so he merged
They hated gay people and paralyzed people and people with cancer.
Here we go.
Beat up all those people.
Here we go. But he apparently
did you see the video I posted of him this week?
No, I did not.
It's a video that emerged. I can't remember what he was doing, but he's coaching these high school kids, these wiry high schoal kids, to lift weights, and they're getting tired. And one says, "I can't," and he goes, "Fuck!"
Really?
Go away, Mark! Fuck fucking time.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you the clip. It's unbelievable.
Have you seen the one where he dropped guys off on the side of the road and took off?
No.
Yeah, there's one, and it's probably
he worked for bangbus.com.
Yeah. He didn't leave him on the side of or he didn't pick him up on the side of the road. He left them on the side of the road. But no, there's one, if you look at it, it's a similar thing where he's trying to do like life coaching, and he's got these two guys, and he meets them at some location, and he says, okay, let's go do the first thing. He picks them up, he drives them like someplace remotely, dropped them off, and left them.
God.
Yeah. So go and look that up. So let's start today. So today's May 16th. I want to start out with some breaking news, Sean, about Enzo Amore, bud.
Oh, yeah.
So his real name is Eric Arndt, and let's start off. He posted a picture today or yesterday, a recent photo on a social media. Nigel, put up that photo for people. That's Enzo today. It looks like that he found a razor, so good for you, Enzo Amore.
I did too.
And
he found a bunch of hickeys, apparently, is what he found.
Well, he doesn't have hickeys all over. At least it tells me that you still get action, Sean.
Maybe from this old woman that he posted on his Instagram story. He posted a photo in like a hospital or a nursing home with some old woman who kissed his hand.
Really?
He put it up to her mouth and she kissed it. He's very happy right now.
Okay.
As he should be.
That's good. So today, May 16, he also posted a letter on Twitter from his general counsel, a guy out of Orlando, Florida, named Todd Cargill. And I know that you have you're doing your due diligence, so we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So the letter states that the Phoenix Police Department has ceased their investigation with respect to Enzo's misconduct allegations. No charges have been filed, and the case is now closed. This is according to his general counsel. And here's the last sentence from the letter. Mr. Arndt is working diligently toward his next venture in the entertainment industry and looks forward to reconnecting with his fans in a big way in the very near future. So, what do you got? What do you got? I know you're contacting the police and all that. What's that?
Yeah, you contact their public affairs bureau, and I did get confirmation. It is done. They said they could reopen it if additional evidence were to emerge, but there was really insufficient evidence. Had some people, after I tweeted this, are like, oh, now you're speaking up for him. It's not my job to speak up for him. I gather quotes, facts, information from both sides as best I can. He and his attorney, for obvious reasons, didn't respond to my comment. Same thing with the Elgin Mo thing. One side would talk to me, the other side wouldn't. But it's not my job to report opinion. Mm-hmm. This case is closed right now. I can tell you that she was very excited to be interviewed, and she was very excited that TMZ was getting a hold of her. She seemed very proud of that fact. Good for Enzo. A lot of people saying, is he going to sue her? Well, I can tell you from personal experience and trying to keep up with this situation, I don't know how much money he gets out of her if he were to do that. Absolutely none. He would spend an awful lot of money, but it's ultimately what his character is worth to him. We see that it's very important to Michael Elgin. Mm-hmm. If he were to successfully sue the person who accused him, I don't think he's getting a lot out of it. But his character is more important to him than that. So it's really a gauge based on that. It also said that he wasn't aware of he being Enzo, wasn't aware of the accusations. I can tell you WWE was very much under the impression, and probably still is, I haven't heard back from them yet, but they were under the impression he was, whether he said that he was aware or not, because of the amount of time that had passed between the situation and the people involved. They didn't like that either. Some of the people that were involved, and it's been no secret, they didn't like a lot of the people that Enzo Amore hung out with before that. And this was, I don't want to say a last straw situation, because they saw a lot of potential in him. They anchored a show to him. Mm-hmm. The cruiserweights were the main event for a while he was there. But yeah, they were very much under the impression that he was aware of the situation. But from what I understand, he was always steadfast, saying, I didn't know.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, I could see Impact picking him up if it means anything. I don't know. We'll see what comes out of it.
They picked up Rich Swann, and what did I say? They were going to pick up Rich Swann, because I had people in Impact telling me at the last tapings, oh, they're not interested in Rich Swann. I was like, of course they're going to say that right now. His non-compete isn't up. Like, what would be the benefit of saying that they were interested in him? And he's working for Impact next month.
for Enzo to say reconnecting with his fans in a big way, that tells me that he's not exactly going to go into rodeo.
I think he's going to put out a rap album expecting that people want to hear him rap. And
that'll be great.
Let me tell you, I heard him on Rosenberg's show. I would much rather watch him wrestle than watch him rap.
You know what? If the Cash Me Out girl can go on Dr. Phil and then get a rap album, so can Enzo Amore. So.
I am, like, part of me, I wonder if she's, like, really some genius prodigy that's like, let me work everybody.
No.
Let me work everybody.
No. No,
or
first thing I would do
is just that stupid. I think society's just that stupid.
I mean, Cardi B's successful. She's not talented.
Sure.
I mean, it's society.
I mean, yeah, she could be talented. Some people like her music.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's good at stripping, from what I hear.
From what you hear?
Yeah, from what I hear.
From what you hear.
She works like in the States somewhere. I've never been to whatever club she's at, but you know.
Sure, Jimmy.
I gotta be honest with you, man. When I first heard, and boy, we're going on a tangent, but the first time that I heard about this Cardi B, right? First time I heard about this Cardi B and I heard, she's like winning awards and all that. Finally, I decided I gotta check this out. I keep hearing about this girl. And I looked up one of her videos and I was like,
I've heard one of her songs.
Nigel could have done that, man. Like, come on.
I've seen her in a commercial. I know that you're a big, like, you hate the Kardashians and stuff.
Oh, don't get me started.
Like, I was talking to Ryan Satin. Ryan Satin thought I was, like, just being dramatic. I didn't know who any of them were but Kim Kardashian until last year when Kylie Jenner wore the Wolfpack shirt. I completely am out of that bubble.
Yeah.
Now, I could see why Ryan would think, how couldn't you know who they were?
TMZ, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So to him, I could understand how he's like, you know who they are, but I really didn't. I knew who Kim was because she's married or dates Kanye West, and she had been on WWE programming a couple times. I knew who a couple of them were their names, but if you put them in a lineup, I would have been able to pick one of them out. But,
yeah.
Unfortunately, but one of them's NWO for life. So
unfortunately, I'm familiar with who they are, and it's made me just not as good of a person, Sean.
Why? Like, I am so. It's so easy for me to just avoid all that. Like, I don't.
You know what? I like going on TMZ for the interesting stuff, like, you know, contracts, you know, who's injured, any like real news. Matter of fact, I remember when Paul Walker passed in that crash, and TMZ broke the story, and I texted my friends and told them, and they didn't believe it because it was TMZ that reported it.
Yeah.
But they're a legitimate source.
They are, yeah.
So I like going on TMZ. The problem is because of what the kids are looking for, Sean. You got to go past 18 Kylie Jenner stories about bullshit. Like, hey, guess what? She went to the store today.
Well, I think
just to get to the real good stuff. You know,
back like 10 years ago, I think that the TMZs of the world got lumped in with like Perez Hilton and shit like that, who would really dramatize things and make it as bad as possible. And maybe the TV show, the speculative nature of some of that, contributed, but I mean TMZ is a legit source. Why is Melissa in our chat talking shit?
Let her talk shit.
She says you don't sit next to Lindsay, Sean. You don't have the luxury of not getting Kardashian updates daily. Does that mean
is Lindsay into that stuff?
TMZ? Oh yeah.
No, like the Kardashians and that shit. Oh, I'm so gonna get on her.
Aruba right now. She's on vacation in Aruba.
Yeah, well, Lindsay, if you happen to catch this podcast, you wait till, I guess, Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday here. You wait till Tuesday, because, boy, am I gonna scold you for being into that crap.
Speaking of, the holiday reminds me, Jimmy, it was 2 years ago this week, I got an email from a James Vanderlinden.
Oh, yeah?
About the prospect of freelancing at Fightful.com. And I remember we talked, or we had a date set to hatch the deal. And I was like, all right, we'll talk Monday. You weren't around Monday. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? And you're like, it's a holiday here. And I'm like, huh? And since then, I've had to learn Canadian holidays. Because that first several months, there would just be days when nobody was in the office. And I'd be like, why isn't anybody in the office? And
you know, the weird thing is they refer to it as the May 2-4 weekend, even though it's not on May 24th. Yeah. And the reason they call it the May 2-4 weekend is because up here a 2-4 is what you call a case of beer.
Wow.
So now they call it the May 2-4 weekend. It's kind of like the unofficial start to summer. Yeah, cottage season. Right, yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, so. I wish I had a cottage season.
Let's talk about the All In show. So I'm going to give credit where it's due, Sean. All right. When you hit me up like a month ago-ish and said, hey, I'm thinking about maybe going to Chicago to cover this press conference for the All In show, and then we found out it was going to be at a T-shirt shop, I said to you, there's no fucking chance I'm sending you to a T-shirt shop so you can sit there on folding chairs with a bunch of T-shirts in the background in some kind of makeshift warehouse. No, let me finish. And so fortunately, we found Stephen Mulhausen. He lived in the area, whatever, and he went and covered it for us. Now, I'm going to give credit where it's due in a minute, but first, I want Nigel to put up the photo from this press conference. Did you put that up? Okay. So I hate it when I'm right, Sean, and you know I hate it when I'm right, but I told you they're doing it at a T-shirt shop, so how professional is it going to be? Now, at least in their defense, they tried putting up blackout curtains. They tried doing it. Problem is, the blackout curtains only went up so high, so you could clearly see the warehouse inventory on the shelves above the curtains.
Yeah, need them a little higher.
It was a real cheap makeshift. As a matter of fact, I saw a clip of Cody and the Young Bucks talking to the people, and they were sharing a mic. 3 guys were sharing a mic, and they had to keep on swapping. I mean, dude, we're in a little media room on a little website, and we got 2 fucking mics, Sean. Like, seriously. It was an embarrassing, cheap, makeshift press conference, but I'm going to give credit where it's due. They sold out the All In show, and I heard that there were some haters that said, oh, StubHub bought them all, but I heard that's not true. That's just
no, it's not true.
Somebody just posted that, right?
I joked about it on Twitter. I was like, StubHub is all in.
No, but somebody else legitimately said it, that StubHub bought out the show, but that's not true. That didn't happen, right?
Yeah, and we have people in our chat saying, with a guy like Ray on the show, how do you not expect him to sell 10,000 tickets? Ray sold 10,000
come on,
tickets.
people. No.
Get out of here. Ray hasn't sold 10,000 tickets anywhere else outside of WWE.
So here's my take on this, and you can give me your take on it. And first and foremost, I want to give props to Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, because even though I made a lot of fun of the press conference and stuff, the fact of the matter is selling 10,000 tickets for an independent show with no television is very impressive. They did it based on the popularity of the Bullet Club, and they did it based on the popularity of being the elite. And the fact that New Japan right now is kind of like the popular, internet wrestling promotion, and that's kind of what did it. I will say this, I think it's successful because this generation's attitude era, given how valuable the internet is to pro wrestling, this generation's attitude era is the Bullet Club, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
that's why when you go to a lot of wrestling shows now, because you hear about it all the time, you see more Bullet Club shirts than you do WWE shirts if you go to a WWE show. And that's what drew the people that are willing to spend the money on wrestling. Once you're able to convince them to pull out their wallet, they will spend money freely on the product, right? But you just got to convince them to take out their wallet, and the Bullet Club has done that. And so kudos to those guys for selling that out. It's an accomplishment. Even though people want to shit on them and StubHub bought the show and all that, it's still an accomplishment. So good for those guys.
Even if they had bought the show, it doesn't matter. Their job was to sell 10,000 tickets, put on a good show.
True.
Cody has said that they don't currently have streaming plans. I'm about 85% sure they will end up streaming it because they said they want people to see it.
Sure, they will. They will. I mean, they're going to be spending a lot on talent, and I'm sure there's going to be a quote-unquote hometown discount. I'm sure the guys like Omega will probably cut him a deal, and I don't know if Ray's going to care so much, maybe because of Cody, but they're going to get deals from some of the talent. But do you know what the average ticket price is? Is it like $75 average? Do you have any idea?
I don't have an average. I know that some of the tickets were like, I think, $26 to $36 for the nosebleeds. They priced them very, very affordably. And
so do you think they might do a 500,000 gate?
I'd have to take a look at things, but
okay.
I wonder where they're going to run if they do it again, because there will be an All In 2 now. Like,
yeah, but they got to space it out.
They do. Like, it can't be like an every other month type of thing. No. They got to make it a special event, and they've got like they have the whole week planned out now, and got a ton of old names associated with that as well. They're doing a lot of things right, and
except for the press conference, they didn't do the press conference right.
I mean, it worked.
You know what I want to do next time? I want to send the Young Bucks a microphone package.
Do it. I'm sure they'll accept it.
Yeah. As like a gift. I want to send them like 2 mics, because then if they keep the other one, then they got 3. You know? But show-wise, it's a good deal. And they also announced Cody's going to challenge Nick Aldis for the NWA title, which is interesting. That's interesting.
Well, they haven't for sure said Nick Aldis. They just said he's going to challenge for the NWA championship. There's this whole thing about Flip Gordon trying to get booked on this show and Cody resisting over and over and over again. By the way, on our YouTube, we have a story that Cody Rhodes told about Flip Gordon beating up a guy backstage at Ring of Honor. for stealing and then sweating all over Christopher Daniels' seat.
Really?
Which was kind of funny. Yeah. So that a local in Pittsburgh, took Christopher Daniels' seat. Christopher Daniels is the elder statesman.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Ring of Honor. Yeah. He is and Flip, probably doing the right thing, said, "Hey man, that's Christopher Daniels' seat. Will you get up? I'll even get you another one." And I guess the guy kind of backtalked him, came at him, and Cody said, "Well, apparently Flip is a trained martial artist." Beat up the guy, and he said, "A couple kicks at the end, probably not necessary." And he said, "But they destroyed my Chipotle along the way, so now Flip is even further away from getting booked than he was before."
Awesome.
So there's a little story in Being the Elite about that, and I think maybe that plays into all this.
So we got to talk about CM Punk because this is already making the news. So first off, he's going to be fighting June 9 at UFC 225 in Chicago against a bum. And if Punk doesn't win, time to retire from MMA. But I think he will. But if he doesn't, time to retire from MMA. Then Pro Wrestling Tees announced that he's going to do a signing at their store in Chicago on August 31, which just so happens to be the day before the All In show. So, of course, now this has led to speculation that he's going to be at the All In show. No chance that he wrestles a match, but I could see him making an appearance, right?
I think he'll retire regardless after this fight.
You think so, really?
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting a guy who has never won and literally lost to the guy who later fought him in a fight that was to be winner fight CM Punk type of thing.
But then after that fight, that guy didn't fight again until now.
Never.
So what's it been, like 2 years since he last fought?
Yeah. And I mean, really, he's more of a media member than anything. And
man, Punk better win that fight, man.
Yeah, he really needs to win that fight.
He's going to look like a scrub if he doesn't.
Yeah, and this guy he's only won in an amateur fight, like I think 6 years ago. I think he won, and it was by split decision. I know that Mike Jackson was supposed to fight last year in LFA, but his fight got canceled. No, he did fight one time since then because I remember it was XKO in January of 2017, and he lost. He got beat in a Muay Thai fight. So
that's tremendous. That's tremendous.
And hey, the UFC show looks good in Chicago. Chicago's getting some fun stuff this year. Within 8 days, they get UFC, they get NXT, and they get Money in the Bank. That's a pretty good lineup.
So now I guess we'll talk about a situation. I think it was Mark Francis, one of our regular listeners, that asked about this one. The Vince Russo, Cody Rhodes situation about All In. I'm a little out of the loop. I knew it had to do with Starrcast. Didn't Cody Rhodes tell him don't come? Is that what it was?
Okay, so Vince Russo got booked for Starrcast. You'll hear more about that on today's show. I spoke to Conrad Thompson about that, who was putting it together. And Vince Russo got booked, and apparently, from what I've heard, I don't have this first or second hand anything, it's just from what I've heard, before somebody like Cody signed off on it. Well, Cody wasn't cool with it. They pulled Russo from the booking, and Cody said, "We don't reward bad behavior, stay away from our event." And when asked about it at the presser, Cody had said that it was due to some controversial remarks, that he's not trying to take away from his accolades, but there have been far too many controversies surrounding him to want him to go there. Vince posted a 45-minute video in response.
A 45-minute video?
Yeah.
Wow. Was he like reciting Shakespeare? Like, how did he kill 45 minutes on that thing talking about this?
That's what Vince Russo does.
Wow.
He recites Shakespeare.
In his own way with his New York accent. That'd actually be pretty funny.
That would be great. I would watch that. Yeah. I watched a video once of Vince waking up at like 3 a.m, and I guess he couldn't go back to sleep or whatever. So he was reading off New Japan results and trying to pronounce the names. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. He had like his glasses on and he had a card out. It was very funny.
So I want to give my take on Starrcast for a second, and this is going to piss some people off, but I don't care. So you told me about Starrcast. For anybody not familiar, it's essentially going to be like a podcast row with a bunch of wrestling podcasters. And the thing to me somewhat, whatever. The thing to me that's really dumb. Although, let me tell you, Sean, I'm all for capitalism. That's fine. Make $1. That's okay. What's really dumb to me is that some people that have a wrestling podcast are actually going to spend money to be part of that podcast row when their podcasts probably don't make any money. And so they're going to be shelling out like what, $600 or something in order to go be, huh?
Yeah, $500 to $600 based on what it was. I mean, the real attraction of this is the WrestleCon aspect of it, as Actually, we can throw to the Conrad clip here in a minute, but it's essentially that they're bringing in a bunch of wrestlers, mainly ones who host podcasts, and they're going to do like live performances and stuff. Obviously, those people aren't paying to be there.
Of course.
They're making money, but they do have spots for Podcast Row where some podcasts can pay to be there and appear there, and they'll get like a media interview. Now, here's my thing. If they are members, if they consider themselves journalists, I have an issue with that, ethically, because that's paying for coverage. If they don't, and they just consider themselves fans or entertainers or whatever, hey, man, you can spend your money how you want. More power to the people doing it, more power to the people making money off of it.
If somebody came to me, because the only thing I've heard about this is from you. If somebody came to me and said, hey, does Listen Your Boy want to be on Podcast Row? It's $600. And by the way, Meltzer's going to be there for free, and whoever else can be there. You know what my answer would be, don't you?
Oh, it'd be hell no, yeah.
It'd be get the fuck out of my office.
Well, I've specified that on numerous occasions. If anybody from our site is there, it won't be because they paid to be there unless they're paying to watch a ticket as a fan or something.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if we are credentialed media, then sure, we'll be there. I mean, if we have somebody near, or if it makes financial sense to go there or to send somebody there. And
credentialed media for what? To cover a podcast weekend?
Well, I mean, you can get interviews there. You can do a lot of different things there. I mean, people go to WrestleCon to get interviews. Like, like
Hannibal. Yeah, like Hannibal, yeah.
Like Hannibal. Stuff like that. But, I mean,
with all due respect to these podcasters, man, and you and I have talked about this off air, with all due respect to these guys, if you're going to pay $600 to be on Podcast Row, you are a mark for yourself. And that's a fact. And I don't care if people don't want to hear that, because it's the truth. Why the hell would you spend money so you can have your little wrestling podcast and a thing when they've got the main eventers for free? Like, fuck off. That's so stupid.
I think it's mainly for, I don't know, it does seem like buying friends to me, but
it's dumb, Sean. You know it's dumb. You can say it because we know you think it. It's dumb.
I mean, it's just not my thing. I see it as harmless.
See, Nigel, and Melissa, since she's in here, Sean is much more. What's the word I'm looking for? You're nicer than me, Sean. That's all I can.
Well, yeah,
I was trying to think of the better word. What's the better word? Not political.
Also,
maybe reserved. Yeah, more. He's more.
Well, here's the thing, Jimmy.
PG, maybe. I don't know.
If somebody said, "Hey, we're willing to pay you $600 to set up our podcast in your office for a day while you do Listen Your Boy," and people primarily watch that, we're probably just gonna be like, "Well, yeah."
It's like I told you, I'm all for capitalism. I understand why Conrad's doing it. If people want to throw money at him because they're idiots, good for him. You know what I mean? This isn't about him. This is about people when you have a podcast doing like 500 views on YouTube and you're making 12 cents a week and you're going to spend $600. Come on. It's ridiculous.
Sure, I don't think about it that much.
Oh, I do because it doesn't make business sense.
I did speak to Conrad Thompson about setting up Starrcast. Take a listen. How did this come about? Like, did they approach you? Did you approach them? How does this work?
Well, I had the idea to do a wrestling podcast convention when I heard that Greg Price was not going to do the NWA Legends Fan Fest in Charlotte last year. So I guess August of 2017. So early in the year, I thought, man, that could be kind of fun. And Bruce and I had just started doing live shows, and I thought this should be something we try to put together. It didn't work out. The hotel was already committed, and I didn't want to go step out and do something that wasn't already sort of established. But I thought, hey, if FanFest is done, I could just piggyback those dates. It didn't work. So time goes on, and this all-in thing became a real thing. So I hit Cody Rhodes up, and I said, hey, WrestleMania has WrestleCon. What if you had an official convention, and it was a wrestling podcast convention? He was intrigued by the idea and said, what would that look like? So I sent him an itinerary. He called me back a few days later and said, dude, we love it. How do we do this? So we worked on landing a hotel, which is not something I've ever done before, and I had to secure that and figure out the rooms and the space and the logistics. And then I sort of worked behind the scenes to try to figure out, hey, what could this look like? What could an itinerary of events look like? What days, from what times? And then lastly, once I sort of had an idea of, hey, what would be fun, now can I land the talent and get the commitments to do it? And how do they make money? And so we figured it all out, and we came down to the wire. I sort of created a hard deadline for myself where I said, okay, I'm going to put tickets on sale here. And we came down to the wire just getting it all put together. But I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to it, and tickets go on sale tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern at Starrcast.com. That's Starrcast with 2 R's, like Starcade, it's Starrcast.com.
And of course, you have Bruce Pritchard, Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone, who you all do shows with. But I mean, just a ton of other names as well, like Jerry the King Lawler, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Jeff Jarrett. You've got all these connections and all these people. I mean, even people that Fightful viewers would remember, and J.J. Dillon if they stayed awake for the shows that we did. But, but there are just a ton of people at this. How do you all go about getting a whole? I mean, you've got obviously got a lot of connections. A lot of these people listen to your shows, but for those that maybe don't, how do you go about reaching out to them?
Well, you know, either myself or somebody I do a podcast with has a contact on almost everybody who's here. You know, either they follow me on Twitter or I have their number, or Bruce or Eric or Tony do, and whoever we didn't, Ric Flair does. So I was able to just snag them and then introduce myself. And luckily the podcasts have grown to the point that even though they may not know me or my name or my voice, but they know who Bruce is. They know who Tony is, and they know those guys have podcasts. So one by one, I was able to introduce myself to these guys and sort of lay out the idea and come to an agreement of, hey, here's how I think we can make money with this. And so now they're interested, and all those guys are all in, so to speak, and we're looking forward to a big event.
All right, we're back.
You all can see the full interview with Conrad Thompson over at youtube.com/Fightful. It's, of course, up on Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com. You click that exclusives tab. I have a bunch of stuff over there. We talked to a lot of people from All In. We have a Q&A video that didn't air on Twitch, I don't think. So lots of stuff from that, and hopefully we will be there in some sort of coverage capacity. But like I was telling you, Jimmy, man, Chicago's getting a lot of stuff.
Good for them. So tell me what you're saying off the air. Somebody wants a Fightful championship with your face on it?
Sammy Ole says Fightful needs a belt like that with SRS's face on it.
I am more than where's my company belt right here? I am more than willing to create one. So this is our company title right here, if you can see it on the thing. I'm more than willing to create a Fightful one of these, but you'd have to tell me, what do you want on it? What do you want for side plates?
Ooh, I would love to do that. I'd
be open to it.
I'm a belt geek. I actually, here's the thing. I used to get interviews for this like the week of, and it was a real hassle to make sure I had something. And at one point I was going to talk to the Wildcat titles people, because I think that shit is real compelling.
That's who made
real
this,
interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly. They make really good titles.
Yep.
Now I'm able to stock up on interviews, and we've got stuff for a good amount of time, so I haven't had to do that. And with all the stuff, the busy April we had, that wasn't a story that held a lot of priority. But I'm always really interested in that. I would love to be artistic enough to be able to create titles and work with medals and shit. I just think a lot of that's cool. I talked to a guy this week who was telling me, have you seen that picture of Mabel with the King of the Ring championship that's out there?
Not sure. Was it a belt?
It's a title. Yeah, it was a title, and a lot of people thought, even me, mistakenly thought that WWF had it made and never used it. As it turns out, he had it commissioned himself and now is in the possession of a private collector who won't even post front-facing pictures of it anymore because he says that too many people try to make knockoffs of it.
Right.
It's a real interesting type of thing. But yeah, I'll figure something out.
I think I've mentioned to you that I have a website called WWFLJN.com about my LJN action figure collection. I haven't touched the site in 2 or 3 years. I don't even really look at it. But every now and then I get a message sent to me through it. And I got one this week from a guy that used to work on that line. He worked for LJN. Yeah, he worked for LJN in the 80s, and he sent me some notes on different things because I had made comments about, you understand staging, right? Like in commercials?
Yeah.
They make the burger look, nicer and all that stuff. I had mentioned staging because there are these versions of the LJNs, they call them prototypes, that look way nicer than the ones that sold. And
Yeah.
I've collected a few of the prototypes, and when you put them side by side with the regular one, there's very clear differences. And he sent me notes about why that was done aside from staging. He said a lot of it came from WWE directive because Vince McMahon didn't like either a certain color, he didn't like a certain pose, whatever. So,
I want to interview that guy.
I'll get it if you want. I'll talk to him.
I would love to talk to that guy. I mean, I may need you to feed me some questions about that, but stuff like that, I would love to learn more about that. That's my favorite part of this job, is getting to learn stuff every day. And
really? Your favorite part of this job is it Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Eastern time?
Well, I mean, I hear a lot of stories, so ultimately I do learn something, even if it's about
My kid's shitting all over the place?
Well, or if you have drugs shoved up your ass, you can just not take a dump for a month and get out of the charges. So
Yeah, what was it again? Was it 40-something days?
45.
Too long.
Was it 45 days?
Miserable days.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So Monday, Sean, I think it was like late morning. I was sitting on my desk. I got a Skype message from you, and your Skype message said, Ronda Rousey's getting a shot at Nia Jax's title at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And I thought, damn. So basically, at the NBC Upfronts, which they had on Monday. So if people aren't familiar, the Upfronts is when they present the lineups for the fall season, and they introduce some of the talent and all that. WWE was there. It's for advertisers. WWE was there. They had a little ring set up and all that. And Nia Jax announced that Ronda Rousey's going to get a shot at the Raw Women's title at Money in the Bank on June 17. I've seen some of the negativity online, and people are kind of shitting on it. No, she doesn't deserve it, and all that kind of stuff. I think you and I both understand from the UFC that rankings don't mean shit. Who deserves it doesn't mean shit. It's all about what's going to draw.
Oh, that's going to be part of the draw of my UFC rankings breakdown I'm going to do on Fightful Select from now on.
There you go.
I'm very likely going to shit all over these rankings on a pretty regular basis.
Yes. Now, anybody that's not familiar with UFC, you're not big MMA fans, I just want to touch upon this. So they have a ranking system in every weight class. They'll have their champion and they have their top 10. And yet, even though they do that, they continuously go against that by creating matchups that make no sense in terms of ranking, but they do it because of the money. So, for example, Georges St-Pierre, I think everybody knows who Georges St-Pierre is. He was the welterweight champion forever. He retired for 2 or 3 years. His first fight back was a shot at the middleweight title, which is the next weight class up that he had never fought in. And he got a title shot. And why did he get a title shot? Because they wanted somebody that could be a draw in order to draw a buy rate for that show. And so he got the shot and he won the title. And then what did he do? He forfeited it right after because he didn't give a shit about the title. He wanted the payday.
Well, also maybe he had colitis.
Yeah, but he didn't. He was never going to fight again.
Maybe he didn't shit for 40 days.
Possible.
That's why he moved up to 185.
Because he had so much shit in him.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think you and I both know, Sean, he was not planning to fight again at middleweight.
Yeah, I didn't think
No
so.
intention.
Oh, especially when the opponent is anybody but Michael Bisping.
Exactly. He knew Bisping could be beaten. And then you think of a Chael Sonnen fights at middleweight against Anderson Silva, loses, then immediately gets a shot at John Jones for the light heavyweight title. One weight class up.
Almost won it, too. If it went to the end of the round, he could have won it via TKO injury because John Jones' toe was hanging out.
So that's the reason that Ronda's getting the shot. Has nothing to do with whether she deserves it. Has nothing to do with whether she's ready. Has nothing to do with rankings. She's getting the shot because she's going to be a draw. Am I going to be that upset if Nia Jax loses that championship? Hell no, I won't. I think quick tap out. I think
as I've said it a million times, it should be Fedor versus Hongman Choi, where he's hanging off of the arm, or she hangs off the arm while Nia's still standing up,
right?
And like Ronda's airborne. If I were to make a depth chart on Raw, I'd put Nia at about 7 to 9.
Do you think Nia? Because even though Nia's big and everything, I've noticed that she's not the strongest. Do you think that she has the strength to hold Ronda up like that?
Oh yeah, I do. Well, here's the thing. I think whether she wants to or not, Ronda can make it happen. You know what I mean?
maybe she's very
type of thing. I mean,
now let me ask you about this. Also, Money in the Bank. So Shane McMahon announced on his Twitter, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, they're going to have another match. It's going to be their 4th in a row on pay-per-view, and no stipulation has been announced yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be last man standing or something, but no stipulation has been announced. But here's my question for you. After that tweet, what did they do? They did a non-title match on SmackDown this week with Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. To me, it feels like they've taken a dream match and they have just beat the shit out of it, Sean. How many times can they have these two guys wrestle and keep it interesting?
I thought it was funny that they did a match to do a match.
They did a match to do a match.
That being said, I thought last night's match was probably the best they've had in WWE.
But the thing is, though, the casual viewer, now this is going to be 6 times if you include SmackDown. Are people going to care? I mean, they've done it so many times now.
I drew a comparison on the UFC show this week about how when Amanda Nunes immediately dropped her opponent with a leg kick in the opening minutes, it was like a football team rushing for a first down in the first 2 plays. It opened up her entire playbook. Mm-hmm. This, to Vince McMahon, was like he saw somebody else on another team rush for 10 yards, like Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago, and he decided to do nothing but rush the ball 7 or 8 times, even though it didn't work any of those.
Mm-hmm.
However, last night's was rather good. I think it should be a lumber balls match where you surround the ring with lumberjacks, and every time somebody comes out of the ring, they get punched right in the penis over and over again, just mercilessly until they get back in the ring. They're like, ah, fuck this! They get back in the ring. Lumber balls match. Or it can be, just as I said, you can keep the ladder method, and the first person to get the hanging balls above the ring and just punch them until they fall off. Winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
So you kind of want it to be a glory hole match.
That is nowhere
That's kind of
near.
where you're going.
That would be like wieners hanging out of the wall and like.
Yeah, but you're getting close. You're getting
wieners would
close.
hit
You're
you
talking
or
about
something.
balls hanging up from a ceiling, Sean.
I mean, kind of. I don't know. That's too much wiener based and not enough balls based. Balls are funny.
Do you
I think
remember?
wieners are aggressive in wrestling. It's too aggressive, man.
Do you remember? I think it was Men in Black 2, where one of the aliens wore a mask over his face, and when they pulled it down, his chin was balls. Have you seen that?
What was that? Oh,
Men in
gosh.
Black 2. I think it was Men in Black 2. And then Will Smith was punching the balls like a speed bag. He was punching them like a speed bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Andresen, actually one of our sponsor tier level subscribers on Fightful Select, says, Sean, how does your wife feel about you shouting right in the penis all the time? I'll be honest with you, it is remarkably normal in this house for me to scream things of that nature, but...
My answer was going to be, that's foreplay for Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I've told Jimmy, my wife is quitting her job this fall to go to school full time. So right now she's like, he's up there paying the bills.
Mm-hmm. I think when Sean Ross Sapp gets aroused at like 1 a.m., that's when you hear right in the penis.
Well, yeah. Live the gimmick, as my friend Adam Rotella says. Live your gimmick.
Let's talk about the ESPN Plus deal, because I think this is going to have ramifications for the WWE, which is why I want to talk about it. I think the deal's crazy, Sean. It doesn't make any business sense to me at all, but I want to talk about it. So it was announced last week that UFC has signed a 5-year deal worth $150 million a year with ESPN Plus, which is a ESPN streaming service that they just launched, and it's going to be carrying 15 events for $150 million. So that's $10 million per, which is crazy, and the deal starts next year.
It's greatest Royal Rumble territory.
It's and when you look at the number breakdown, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I understand that ESPN is treating it as a loss leader. I get that. They're looking at it like they need to stock their platform with exclusive live sports content because they got to show their subscribers, what they have and all that. ESPN Plus costs $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. Dave Meltzer reported that for a UFC pay-per-view to generate $10 million these days, because they have declined in popularity, and so for them to generate $10 million, they have to do better than 285,000 buys. And these days, most pay-per-views don't hit that mark, aside from the ones that have a big name. They could, like obviously Conor McGregor, but also I think Cormier Jones did above that, GSP did above that. Most don't. Amanda Nunes is lucky to break 150 these days. And so obviously it makes sense for them to move it over to ESPN Plus for that kind of money. Now, there's logistic issues we don't need to talk about. How are the fighters going to make up for the loss of revenue? They're not going to get pay-per-view bonuses anymore, whatever. That's for you.
Don't get sponsorship money.
Yeah, and that's for them to figure out, and obviously the UFC is going to have to figure that out. But I want to talk about this in terms of just the money involved and how this could be really, really good for WWE in terms of the value of live sports content. So right now, if you look at UFC's fight night shows that they have on Fox, all right, those shows are lucky if they do 1.5 million viewers on a Saturday night. They're lucky if they do that. If you look at UFC Fight Pass, which is their current streaming service, they have around 500,000 subscribers, if that, all right? For ESPN to make back that $150 million, they would have to generate 3 million annual subscribers in order to do that. And again, when you consider that on the fight night shows, which are free television, they do 1.5 million viewers. Fight Pass, if they're lucky. Fight Pass, that's your target. People that are going to pay money for a streaming MMA service has less than 500,000 subscribers. There is zero chance that ESPN's going to get anywhere close to 3 million annual subscribers based on this UFC deal. And so, again, I understand that it's a loss leader for them and that they feel they need to have the content. I think it's crazy they're paying that kind of money. I feel like they could have gotten away with paying half that money. I'd love to know how the negotiations went, Sean. Like, do you think they had some monkey at ESPN? Because you realize that a lot of suits are idiots. In reality, like a lot of like suits on boards are morons, right?
If Fightful Select had 2 subscribers over the first month and a half, we probably wouldn't have a Fightful Select right now.
No.
Hey, because the content that I am putting on that would have been better served to put up for free and get whatever little YouTube revenue they give us. So I don't understand the method. I know from a WWE perspective, this may be the point where I start to hardball and I start to say this perception that wrestling fans don't pay for shit, get that out of here. Because I don't know how the fuck somebody could watch 300 episodes of Grey's Anatomy. For the love of God, it's like a third of the viewership it once did.
Did you stop at 275 episodes?
Yeah. It was just... After that, I said, no more. Walking Dead is like half of what it was a year or two ago.
They all run their course eventually, you know?
They all run their course eventually, but wrestling has a very, very dedicated core.
Yeah.
And we just saw 10,000 people pay for an event in Chicago that has no streaming plans right now.
Right.
And there's going to be a bunch more people go to a podcast convention before that. You've got cities that bid on your event to come there. I think this is the point where WWE needs to say, kick that old shit out the window. There's no reason soccer in America should be getting higher ad rates for a program that gets a fraction of the viewership. Not just that, a fraction of the loyal viewership. Like,
it's because of perception, advertiser perception.
Perception, yeah, that needs to...
But here's the thing, and just so there's no confusion, this is not UFC's new rights fee deal. So there's no confusion. This is a separate deal for ESPN's streaming platform. They still have yet to negotiate the new rights fees deal. They're expecting they're going to get $200 to $250 million for that, meaning that all in between the two, they might end up at $400 million plus. And WWE right now, I think their popularity is higher than UFC. Their television ratings are higher than UFC. I think in terms of advertiser perception, they're pretty comparable, I think. And so there's no reason to think that WWE 400 might be stretching, because wrestling is a hard sell. 400 might be stretching, but there's no reason to think they won't do at least 250, I think, based on this. I mean, this is going to be good for WWE.
This is a very interesting time, and oh boy, with all the streaming services and ESPN Plus launching, I know they have a Kobe Bryant show on that service, so they want, that's something that they could have put anywhere else and it would have done great, but they use it to anchor their service because, you know, it's freaking Kobe Bryant. But man, this is a big time for WWE and UFC, especially because UFC got lowballed by Fox.
Yes.
Fox wanted to offer them $200 for the whole shebang.
Not for any streaming stuff. That was just the rights fees, I think.
Well, I know, but that would have, the stuff that is now on the streaming ESPN Plus would have been on Fox as well. And UFC
is that true?
Like,
because I thought that the plan is that some of the pay-per-views might move to ESPN Plus.
I don't know. That remains to be seen. I find it very hard to believe that pay-per-views would move to ESPN Plus or pay-per-view quality. Maybe they would say that, but it's the old UFC on Fox and Vince McMahon starting a new TV show method of, here, we're giving you Cain Velasquez and Dos Santos. We're giving you John Cena and Seth Rollins in a title match. And then 2 weeks later, you've got the Revival against Breezango headlining the show. You know what I mean? You don't see anything the caliber of Kane, JDS on Fox anymore.
That's true. All right, let's go to Stupid People.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
I just moved the mic, Nigel. I hope it didn't screw it up.
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Okay, good. So first off, TrevorStrong.org, thanks for the usage of the stupid song. And once again, when this is done, go to FightfulSelect.com, and we have Stupid People Extended ready to go. And boy, we got some real beauties again this week, Sean. Once again, finding 6 stories a week of stupid people is the easiest part of my week, Sean.
I think that the week that Nigel is out, Melissa should be tasked with this because I want to see what kind of things she can cook up.
I'm up for it so long as I can look at it first. I'm up for it.
I think it should catch you by surprise as well.
No, that's not going to happen.
She should intro them, and we should react.
No, I think we're good doing it the way we're doing it.
Because I want Nigel to do that.
I will get her involved though, because Melissa's actually a very quick wit and very got a good sense of humor. So I'll throw her in there.
I think Nigel should intro them sometimes as well. Because
Nigel could do a good job of it. He would shit on society.
You're saying that Melissa couldn't. Dissension.
No. He would be introing. No, you misunderstood. He'd be introing ones I came up with, as would Melissa.
Okay, we'll see.
Or ran by me, one or the other.
Sure.
So this first one is reported by ABC. It was reported by ABC News Australia on May 11, and we're going to play a video clip here. A woman named Deanne Carson, who is a child educator, and she's the CEO of something called Body Safety Australia, which is, quote, and this is from their website, a social enterprise protecting children from sexual abuse with whole community solutions. That's what they claim they do. She was on ABC News Australia, and she claims that parents should ask their babies for consent before changing their diaper. Play that clip, Nigel.
I'm going to change your nappy now. Is that okay? Of course, the baby's not going to respond. Yes, Mum, that's awesome. I'd love to have my nappy changed. But if you leave a space and wait for body language and wait to make eye contact, then you're letting that child know that their response matters.
Now, when I first heard this clip and saw this video, I honestly wondered if it was a joke.
Yeah. And
I wondered if it was a joke.
I hate this because on my Facebook, especially in Kentucky, whether you see somebody that's this far weird and left or that far weird and right, that's what the entire left or right gets portrayed as, and that's so stupid to me.
I am going to go ahead and assume that Deanne Carson does not have children. I would bet money on it. Does not have children. And if she can ever see this clip, if we can pull this out and tweet it to her or something, when the day comes that you have children, I want you to ask them for permission before you change them, okay? And if they don't give you the body language you're talking about, then I want you to leave them in their shitty diaper and let me know how that goes for you. That's all I got to say, Sean.
Did she ask her hairdresser's consent before she made her give her whatever the fuck is on her head?
Oh, so now you're going to start discriminating and judging, Sean? We're just talking about what she said, man.
I'm just saying. She says the baby doesn't even have to give consent. There just has to be a window there. There was no window for her hairdresser.
I mean, you've got a man bun and a hickey, Sean. I didn't,
Right, I do. It's beautiful,
I didn't judge.
It is kind of
$10,000 will get this chopped off, Jimmy.
How much?
What's it worth to you? $10,000?
$10,000.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Put my price tag above Sean Waltman's.
Okay. So this next one was reported by the BBC on May 11, and we got another video clip here. People are such sweethearts, man. So a family of French tourists decided to get out of their car, not once, but... You saw this one? They decided to get out of the car not once, but twice, in the middle of a safari park in the Netherlands, surrounded by cheetahs, so that they could take selfies and video clips. It was a mother and father and their little boy. At one point, the woman actually put the little boy down to let him run around in a field.
I think she asked her kid consent to take him out.
Yeah, exactly. The people behind them at the park, they took video of it, and it's funny because they were commenting in Dutch between themselves when they were taking it. But the cheetahs you could see in the clip, and Nigel, do you have audio on the clip? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So he'll put it up in a second. The cheetahs lunge for them because they see the little boy, and cheetahs go for small prey, Sean.
You ever watch Snowpiercer?
What is it?
You ever watch the movie Snowpiercer?
No.
I think I've
Chris
seen
Evans, they're stuck on a train.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, Nigel, as you'll remember, babies taste the best. So, now, if this were me, this would have been one for the Sean Ross Sapp file because I would have shit my pants. I wonder if they are aware that cheetahs are real fucking fast.
The fastest animal on the planet. And they tend to prey on small game, Sean. Like a little boy. Okay, go ahead, put up the clip.
Jezus. Oh my god. Jezus. Oh, het kind. Nee. Jezus. Nee. Nee, Jezus. Nee. Doe normaal, man. Jezus. Stond niet nog. Nee. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, wat erg. In die auto, mensen. Kom op. Oh, wat erg. Jezus. The fuck?
You know what's the best part about that? Our iTunes audio listeners, all they got was commentary from Dutch people saying Jesus and what the fuck. That was the best part.
What else can you say in a situation like that?
Don't get out of the car in a safari, Sean. How about that?
Still, can't run. Yeah, that would be that's sound advice.
And can you imagine not like what's the mentality? What's the mindset? Not only leaving your car but putting your kid down on the ground. What's the mentality behind that?
Man,
like how do these people? How do they walk without falling down? These people, you know.
it's embarrassing.
All right, this last one. This is reported by the Aspen Times on May 27, and this is one for the Sean Ross Sapp file, Sean.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you would do in this situation. So there's a lot of layers to this story, Sean.
Yeah.
It's like Shrek. It's like an onion. It's like peeling an onion.
That's what I thought of.
So a 25-year-old man named Stephen Elmore had an incident with his roommates in January after he passed out, and one of them drew pictures of dicks on his face. He woke up and discovered the drawings, and he confronted the people present, and he decided to retaliate by going out and starting a fire in the garage.
Oh.
The problem was the garage was not only next to the residence, but it was directly next to his room. And so the house caught on fire. The roommates managed to put it out, and Elmore had just pled guilty to felony arson, and he just got 2 years probation and a plea deal. So my question for you is, what did you do when somebody drew pictures of dicks on your face?
Well, I never had that happen to me, fortunately.
See, I just made like it was presumed. Do you see how I did that, Nigel? Yeah. I just made like,
I would say the furthest I ever went when somebody pranked me, I think they destroyed some of my clothes and they thought it was funny. So I took a nail gun and I nailed all their shoes to the ceiling.
That's kind of like an old 80s wrestling prank.
Yeah, and I think one time I filled their toilet bowl with gelatin. Then when they pissed, all the piss would bounce up and hit them on the leg.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. There was that, too.
And did it work?
Yeah, it worked. Hell yeah, it worked.
Okay. There you go. And once again, FightfulSelect.com. Go there for Super People Extended after this. So there you go. So let's talk about WWE UK, Sean. Let's talk about that. Now, you know something?
The WWE bearded white guy tournament.
Yeah, I saw the... So by the time I did the list, it hadn't come out yet who was going to be in the tournament. You can go ahead and talk about that later if you want.
I guarantee you there'll be a bunch of bearded white guys.
There you go. So back in the 90s, just to kind of recap for a second, back in the 90s, WCW started kicking WWE's ass, and Vince McMahon was looking for new ideas. He was looking to get progressive. He noticed Vince Russo's writing in the magazine, took Vince Russo, went up to his board meeting, whatever, and he told the staff, we got to be doing more stuff like this. And then that somehow turned into the Attitude Era, which became the hottest period in wrestling history for WWE. These days, it seems like Vince McMahon doesn't have that same motivation because he doesn't have any real competition, at least domestically. And it seems no matter how much they phone things in creatively, they continue to make more money than they've ever made, and they're about to make even more. Which means that as wrestling fans, we might be due for some dark days here because when they're going to have all this guaranteed money, it's going to be hard to motivate them in order to present the best creative they can. The reason I'm bringing this up is that it seems like a competitor is what they need to be motivated to present the best product they can present, and proof of that is the ITV network in the UK. That's your proof, right? Because last week, ITV did their taping. ITV, for anybody that doesn't know, they're a big television network in the UK on free television. They did their taping for the World of Sport, and this motivated WWE to actually do something with their UK division, which has been stagnant since Pete Dunne won the title. They announced that they're going to be holding a tournament to determine the next challenger for the UK Championship. There's a thing called the Download Festival in the UK from June 8 to June 10. It typically features NXT matches all 3 days. They've done it in the past. This time they're going to have the opening round for the tournament featuring 16 wrestlers. Then on June 18th, they're going to be finishing the tournament at Royal Albert Hall in London. And then the next day, June 19th, the winner of that tournament is going to challenge Pete Dunne for the title. And Dave Meltzer reports that WWE offered contracts to around 20 independent performers in the UK, and they did it strategically to prevent them from signing with ITV. That's the only reason they did it. They wanted to lock him up, not let ITV get a hold of him. And when you think about it, it's right out of Vince McMahon's playbook from the 80s, when he was going national and picking up all the top talent from all the territories. And that's essentially what they're doing now against the ITV in the UK. Interesting situation. And what's your take on it?
Why don't you just why haven't they just done this before and just ran shows across the UK themselves under the WWE UK?
Have been
banner?
motivated. They have been motivated. Yeah,
that's really it. It's a Vince McMahon thing. Like I said, people like Toni Storm should have been signed last year, and I think she just got an offer.
They've been trying now. Yeah, I think for a while.
Because man, that's the one that I was most happy about, and she's like from New Zealand. So, but I was just very, very happy to hear about that more than any of them. And there's Travis Banks, that's a good one, but they need to run that and just make some money. It's a hot territory.
And the thing is, it is a hot territory, and the thing is, without this ITV thing coming together, there would probably be no UK division. Pete Dunne would not be the UK champion, and there would be no tournament taking place now. They're only doing it to combat ITV from taking off in the UK. So
man, that is a gorgeous championship. I love that title belt.
Yeah,
I'm with you. It's vintage Vince McMahon.
It is. Now, in other news, and this is interesting, so New Japan announced, so they have a new president. His name is Harold Meij. He's a 50-year-old Dutchman from my homeland. Good for him. And he's lived in Japan for over 30 years, and he's fluent in English and Japanese. It's the first time ever that New Japan has had a non-Japanese leader for the promotion, which is very interesting. I looked up this guy a little bit, this Harold Meij. He was most recently the CEO of Tomy, which is a Japanese toy company, and apparently in under 4 years, he took them from a money-losing corporation to a profitable corporation, and he more than tripled their stock.
That's great.
And now he's going to run New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I read a press release or something where he said his goal is to sell out the Tokyo Dome. So, what do you think of that, man? They got a Dutch guy running New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I think they should also be running. Man, if I were New Japan and I were Ring of Honor, I would make that marriage even closer and closer and closer. I would make one like the American territory, make one the Japanese territory, share talent as much as possible. Like, I just think there is so much potential for them collectively as the number 2 in the world to be a real alternative, because, and the beauty of it is, there's not a lot of like promo work in New Japan that kills off some of these guys. Meanwhile, you have people like Being the Elite who give themselves 10 to 15 minutes a week, and look what's happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Look what's happened. There's just so much potential there as a true alternative. And that's what I thought TNA was in between 04 and 09-ish. I thought Impact, or TNA then, some of the best stuff I was watching from a character standpoint. Go back, guys, and watch Kevin Nash with the Cruiserweight Wrestlers Paparazzi Championship Series. That was some of the most entertaining shit I ever saw. It brought Black Machismo out, which has been reborn on Being the Elite.
You like that, Black Machismo?
It was hilarious.
I hated that.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, but they treated him like a top guy. I hated that.
He was in the ring worthy of being a top guy.
Oh, sure. No question about that. What I'm saying is you don't take a wrestler, give him a gimmick of pretending to be another wrestler, and then push him as a top guy. You don't do that.
I don't know if that was necessarily when they made him a top guy. I think after he abandoned that character, they really pushed him as a top guy because more people knew who he was and they connected with him and liked him. There is room to be... I mean, not only there's not room, they are a number 2. I consider them and Ring of Honor the same thing. I really do, because of their marriage. So,
and you know something,
good.
WWE.
I hope he does great things with them.
And WWE could use it, man. They could, like we just talked about. They need a real competitor. They need it. And the fact that that Cuban has the TV rights in the U.S., maybe that'll help because he's got the money if he wants to get behind it. You know.
Here's an interesting question that C. Phoenix poses. He says they should scrap main event and shift their focus on a weekly UK show.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of talent on the main roster. It's not going to be working in a given week, though.
Yep, they could do that. So speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling, so they have a couple of shows scheduled for the U.S., one in June in Daytona Beach, Florida, one in July in San Francisco, California. And it was announced this week that Kenny Omega, he's kind of following in the footsteps of Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, kind of, because he's serving as the local promoter for the Daytona Beach show, but he's doing it in conjunction with a company that I had never heard of called CEO Fighting Game Championships. I looked them up. It is a company that presents tournaments of fighting video games, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and they actually do tournaments. People actually come out and pay money to be a part of this.
Lots of people.
Crazy.
A lot of people.
Crazy.
A lot of people. Yes.
I found out.
I've had at least a dozen requests this year alone for Fightful, who has never really had anything to do with anything video game related, to do a Twitch channel, and I'm like, my God,
really?
There are a lot of people. Oh yeah, lots of people that are into that type of thing. I was like an MC or a host of a video game tournament here locally several years ago, like because they needed somebody to kind of set things up, move it on. There was like a minimal audience, but I mean that's a big thing.
Let me ask you this: so one of my employees here, who will remain nameless, so that I don't embarrass them, Hayden. He likes to spend time sometimes, and when I say sometimes, I think every day, watching people play video games on Twitch. I don't understand the draw. Why do people want to watch somebody else play a video game?
It's not my thing.
I don't get it. What's the appeal?
I love playing video games.
Nigel, what's the appeal? Why does somebody want to watch somebody else play a video game?
I can't speak from personal experience because I'm not really in that world. But like esports, I think it's just like they play at such a competitive level that it is like watching somebody play a sport. Like some of these games, and not so much in the U.S., but I think it's growing in North America. But you go to places like South Korea and Japan, there's like sold out stadiums where it's like a fusion of like cosplay and also like the video games themselves. And like there's I'll send you a link to a good Vice documentary that they did about this about like 6 years ago. It's nuts.
People are tearing you up on the chat.
I don't care.
Jimmy just now finding out about esports. Don't tell him about Starrcast.
No. I'm familiar with this stuff. Like I've seen documentaries before where they showed people being recruited to play on a team and having a tournament and getting paid for it. I'm familiar with all that stuff. I don't understand the draw. I don't get it.
You're late to the party, Jimmy.
Well, good.
Did you hear? Bo won the Heisman.
But for me, it's just like as someone who doesn't watch sports or esports, I kind of like. I look at them as like the same thing. Maybe
I feel like we're headed for the Matrix, and we're all going to be living in a bubble of water in the next 50 years, Sean.
The closest
that's what's going to happen.
The closest I've come to watching something like that, I was on ESPN. I had watched like SportsCenter or something before that, and I turned the TV on, and they had drone races, and I was like, all right, I'll give this a go. And I watched the drone race, and I was pretty impressed that like they did those in like a football arena, like an empty football arena, so they could navigate. But I was like, damn, that's kind of crazy.
So
speaking of crazy, before you shit on my segue, you spoke about WWE's UK tour or UK promotion. Marty Scurll made a name for himself in the UK, now making a name for himself in New Japan as a part of Bullet Club. Steven Muehlhausen spoke to him at the All-In Presser. Take a listen.
Steven Muehlhausen here at Fightful.com. We're talking to the one and only Marty Scurll. He's at the All-In press conference, and if this was 1 year ago, do you think this would even be taking place?
Would it be possible?
Would it be possible in your mind? Would it be taking place?
It's hard to predict. It's certainly something that, as a wrestler who loves pro wrestling, it's certainly something that we've always kind of wanted to do for sure. Have that alternative product and that platform for us to perform on. I feel like there is obviously a demand for something different, and I think we provide it. So it's just a case, I think, of getting out there, letting people know that there's something cool going on, and hopefully the people will come. So where I thought it was possible, maybe not, but as this moved on and we've made it more of a thing, it seems more and more possible. The closer we're getting, like today's the first day of ticket sales. I guess it's starting like a few hours. So yeah, I guess time will tell, but it's exciting. Like I feel like we've made such a splash now that we can't be ignored, and I'm just excited. I can't wait to perform. We're gonna get 10,000, like for sure.
To me, what's been going on in wrestling seems like kind of like in the 90s, you had the grunge era, where it seemed like with Nirvana really leading the way.
Oh yeah.
Does it feel like that to you, where a revolution is really going on in wrestling?
We're punk rock, we're DIY, we're at the establishment. I think that's why people think it's cool. Do you know what I mean? Like everything here is organic, everything here is authentic. So we're real. Do you know what I mean? Like So yeah, I think that's why they take to us, and we're giving them content all the time. Obviously, on the YouTube show, and they're getting that interaction with us. Like we're probably getting more. How would I say it? Like time with the viewer, building more of a relationship with the viewer than a mid-card guy gets, or even a main event that gets a Raw. They might get a 2-minute segment, but we're doing a 15, 20-minute episode every week. You know what I mean? People get to see us and see what we're up to. So I think it's we're aiming to make wrestling good again. Hopefully we're doing a good job.
When you're sitting there at night and you're away from everybody, and it's just you, or you're in the car by yourself, do you even think of how surreal this all is right now?
Sometimes, yeah. It's a crazy time. It's probably one of those things that you won't appreciate it until later on you look back like, whoa, that was crazy. But no, quite often, especially I started wrestling for so many years, making no money, not having a pot to piss in. So, it's a really good time. Yeah, it's a great time for wrestling.
You look at that and you just said that and you were making no money. Was it ever in the point in your mind you're like, do I really still want to do this, or was it just the passion you had for the business?
Always wanted to do it. If you love something, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, if money was an object, I'd still be doing what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? It's not. Yeah, it's I want to be a wrestler. As cheesy as it sounds, you know what I mean? But no, I always if you believe in yourself, yeah, it sounds cheesy, but if you want something bad enough, you can do it. You know what I mean? So I never envisioned anything else.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Loads of guys. I love guys like Roddy Piper and Terry Funk. Bret Hart, Rey Mysterio, Justin Liger, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. It's a good list, right?
You picked some good ones there, and we'll ask 2 more questions. And if you had an opponent, and if you had thought about who you would really want to face, because really nothing beyond Cody saying he's going to challenge for the NWA title, is there an opponent that you would really like to face on the show?
I don't. There's a whole bunch of guys that I enjoy, but I think what would be nice is. Obviously, I'm contracted with Ring of Honor, so it's going to be Ring of Honor guys on the show. But that's about if I wrestle with those guys, it's a match I can do at Ring of Honor. So I'd like to think I could wrestle someone who isn't above Ring of Honor, and just do something new and do something different in America. That's what I'd like to do. But in terms of names, I don't know. I legit don't even know. Nothing's really been confirmed yet in terms of card, which you probably think I'm joking. It's serious. Wrestling changes so much now. Like Cody's trying to put a card together like 8 months ago. Like, dude, this is going to change between now and then. People get loads of things can happen. Do you know what I mean? No one knows where everyone's going to be in September. So yeah, I don't know. In terms of dream opponents, I want to say anything because obviously they're just going to steer one way and then maybe make a narrative that isn't quite true. But either way, I'm hoping to be highlighted in a good position and put on a good performance for the 10,000 people.
It's a nice rendition you sang right at the end there, and you should come out with this. You should come out with a CD in the near future. Belt out a couple more tunes there, my friend.
No, I'm not.
That was pretty good there.
When you watch those TV shows, I think in the UK we have the X Factor. In America, it's maybe something else. And they go on stage and they've got to sing, and then they completely forget the words. That's like me, every weekend, but I still have to perform. When they forget the words and break down, that's me every weekend. So no, I don't think there'll be any album anytime soon.
Thank you for the time, Marty.
Thank you, buddy.
All right,
and we're back as Jimmy's casually talking about net neutrality.
Yeah, apparently they're restoring it. It was just in the news. They're restoring it, which is good. They should.
That is very good. It's very good.
Yeah.
What else you got on the list this week? Are you going to get off your goddamn phone?
I told you I'm trying to condense a week's worth of work into a day. So fuck off if I have to be on my phone for 30 seconds, Sean. A couple more things. So I want to talk about Charlotte because she's had a hell of a time. So first she gets a ruptured implant. I imagine that felt good. Then she was at a live event last week in Germany against Carmella, got her teeth knocked out. Had to leave the European tour, fly back to the U.S., have dental surgery. Somehow through that, she made it to the NBC Upfronts on Monday. She was there with Nia Jackson, Ronda Rousey, and of course Stephanie and Hunter, because Stephanie's got to be there, presenting WWE. You, on this week's Post SmackDown podcast, you had a conversation with Jeff Hawkins talking about supposed comparisons between Charlotte and Roman Reigns. Why don't you explain that, what you think the comparisons are between those two?
Well, I don't see a lot of comparisons. I mean, obviously they think a lot of both, but there are people that think that maybe she isn't the best fit for that role and that, I don't know, she's always positioned as a top person. I think she should be. She screams star.
Yes.
And the difference is that Roman Reigns is portraying a WWE versus the Machine angle. Everybody knows that isn't true.
Yep.
Charlotte's shortcomings and benefits have been addressed in numerous promos. It's been part of WWE canon. Her dad got her in there. She's wooing. She's not exactly out there hiding the fact that she's Ric Flair's daughter. And tons of wrestlers have said you've only got here because of.
I mean, they call her Charlotte Flair now on television.
So I mean, it's a part of canon. So I couldn't disagree with that more. I think that she is a proper person to be in that role.
I know Jeff said either she needs to turn heel or she needs to suffer a beat down in order to get sympathy. And now my personal opinion is that heel turn is what she needs. I think she's an excellent heel. I think that she even kind of comes off as a heel as a babyface.
She does.
Especially during her entrance. So I think that's what she needs. But I do think that if they want to really make a go of the babyface run, like Jeff said, they should do a beatdown and make her look weak in a segment. And I actually thought about Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan in the 80s physically was the biggest guy. And he was bigger than every other guy, and he was more muscled than every other guy. And yet nobody could draw sympathy from a crowd like Hulk Hogan. And how many times did you see him? It seemed like every year he had a friend turn on him, Sean. Every year. You know, and he was always getting destroyed. King Kong Bundy laid him out, and Paul Orndorff laid him out, and the Big Boss Man laid him out.
Let me tell you why. It's because Hogan is a dick. So nobody liked him. He eye gouged people and choked them with shirts.
And raked their backs.
Raked their backs and pulled out people who had legally eliminated him out of battle royals and Royal Rumbles and would come back in the ring and beat people up. He was a dick.
It's because he didn't have any actual in-ring skill. But the fact of the matter is, because even though he was the biggest guy and the most muscular guy, and he was bigger than pretty much all of his opposition, he could draw sympathy like nobody's business. And when he took that pile driver from Paul Orndorff, when Orndorff turned on him, and Orndorff was like 5'10", and he took that pile driver, and you know when he used to do the thing where he'd be flopping around on the mat, you know, like convulsing on the mat? Yeah. The crowd was with him when he did stuff like that. Not saying that Charlotte Flair should start convulsing on the mat. But,
nobody did that better than Devon Dudley. He was the best at that.
Yeah. Well, Hogan
he would do it so hard. He would it's like if you set a PlayStation controller on a table and it starts to vibrate and it falls off the table.
Yeah. Well, he was still pretty good at it, so maybe that would help Charlotte. One thing about Hogan just came to mind. I don't know how it popped into my head. Have you ever seen the match with Hogan against Killer Khan? They did it at MSG a few times, and it was televised. Have you ever seen the match and the finish for that match?
I haven't.
Because they played the same thing a lot. Hogan came into the ring with tape around his fist. Have you seen that? Now that I'm talking about it?
No, I don't think I have.
So Hogan came into the ring with tape around his fist. Killer Khan used to spray the green mist, right? Which he took from various different wrestlers. Hogan did a thing where, because he had the tape around his fist, when Killer Khan would spray the mist, he'd hold his hand up and kind of catch it. And then he would rub it in Killer Khan's eyes. That would make Killer Khan bump. Then he would drop the leg and pin him. And they did that finish many, many times. And I remember even as a kid watching it thinking, why does Hulk Hogan have tape on his fist? Because he never had tape on his fist, you know? But
I forgot Killer Khan even existed, to be honest with you.
Hey, he broke Andre's leg in like 1981, you know? So
that was just a tad before my time, but man, I forgot all about him.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, his finish was good. Do you remember his finish? He did the knee drop off the top rope.
Oh yeah.
He was a big dude. You know, looked good. Last but not least, this week I want to talk about Big Cass. And if what's being reported is true, then he deserves everything he's getting creatively, in my opinion. So a little bit of a recap. So back on the May 1 edition of SmackDown, prior to the Backlash pay-per-view, he was going into the pay-per-view against Daniel Bryan. So he did a segment on SmackDown where he had a little person portraying Daniel Bryan. And they finished the segment with him laying out the little person with the big boot, and then he ground and pounded him and beat him down, right? According to Pro Wrestling Sheet, Nigel's already smirking. I guess it's funny to you when you beat up a little person. That's funny to you.
Who would think of doing that?
Oh, it wasn't the first time.
Repeatedly.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time.
Whoa!
I would be surprised if this was the 10th time.
Yeah, they've done it many times, so it definitely wasn't the first time.
It's just like...
I mean, hell, WrestleMania 3, Bundy dropped an elbow on one. That was 1987.
That's probably our intro next week, is just a highlight reel of all the time.
That's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you, Sean. That's exactly what we're going to do. So, according to Pro Wrestling Sheet, Big Cass was only supposed to deliver the big boot, and that was it. And he allegedly believed so much in doing a beatdown after the boot that he went to various officials backstage looking for permission. He allegedly even went to Vince McMahon asking for permission, and Vince McMahon turned him down and said only the big boot. He then called an audible, allegedly, and went out there and decided on his own to do the beatdown after the big boot. And we saw what happened creatively after that. He went into Backlash. He lost clean as a sheet to Daniel Bryan. Now, granted, he did say on SmackDown this week, which you and I had alluded to, was, I tapped it right away, just get out of the move. Mm-hmm. Right? Which we had talked about. But he lost clean as a sheet. Then SmackDown that week after Backlash, he wasn't used on the show. And this week on SmackDown, he taps out in a non-match situation to Daniel Bryan. So he's basically beat up and punked off again. I
probably losing next week too.
I was going to say, I question if this is his punishment because he's, allegedly or reportedly went against management's demand or whatever. And if that's true, he deserves everything he's getting, because in a segment as meaningless as a stupid thing with a little person, thinking that the big boot's not enough and thinking, I really need to get in that beatdown on this little person, you're a moron if that's what you thought. And to go against officials when you don't have stroke, you're not Roman Reigns, you don't have that kind of stroke. To think that you're going to go against officials to do something so minor like that, he deserves everything he's getting creatively. And if I was Vince McMahon, I would job the hell out of him too. I would, because you're stupid if that's what you did.
So I hate to sound like a broken record because I've brought this up on a couple shows before, but there's a reason why I often don't report storyline news whether I get it or not, and that's because a lot of people make fun of Meltzer saying plans change. They do, and they change based on one 72-year-old guy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
WWE decided that night that beatdown happened that Daniel Bryan wasn't fit to appear on programming. It wasn't due to the chest infection as they initially reported. They didn't like the way the bruises looked on TV. Daniel Bryan was supposed to come out at the end of that segment. He didn't because of that. So they had rewrites. Big Cass was told, don't go beyond the big boot, mainly for the safety of the little guy in there working with him.
And not only that, but
he did it anyway.
The big boot was his finisher, Sean.
Yes.
So if you're hitting the guy with your finish, that's it.
And those I talked to backstage in WWE said that I know that fans don't think that WWE thinks a lot of Daniel Bryan, but this was a meal on a silver platter handed to Big Cass.
Absolutely.
And that he should have recognized that and should have appreciated that and therefore should have went along with how this went. Now, I was also told that if this were somebody like an AJ Styles or a Nakamura who was more deep into their career, had better senses for a crowd and all that, and had been to the top, the heat probably wouldn't have been as much. But because Big Cass is just getting his real push, and not only that, being programmed with Daniel Bryan, first real program since he came back, that he probably needed to take things the way that WWE wanted to take.
Absolutely, he should have taken things. It would have been one thing if they said, okay, look, Big Cass, the little person's going to put you on his shoulders and he's going to airplane spin you. And then he's going to go to the top rope and he's going to deliver like a frog splash to you. I mean, something like that, you can understand him saying, whoa, 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 I want to do this. But when they're telling you, you get to hit him with your finish, cool. You know what I mean? That's it. And again, because again, this is all alleged and it's all based on reports from websites and stuff like that. But if that's true, he deserves it. What he's getting.
Yeah, that's what I heard was pretty much in line with that. So
right. Well, that's a shame. That's all I got for you, man.
Man, you got the rest of the week off.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly going to be. I was going to say I'm not going to be sitting outside with my feet up, Sean.
You say that so aggressively, like I insinuated such.
No, I'm just tired, man. I've been going back and forth between houses. My house right now is stacked up with boxes like 8 feet tall, and I've got my in-laws staying at the house, and my kid's been sick, and she's been at home running around, and it hasn't been fun. But it's almost done now, though. It's almost done.
I think that's the most excited thing I am for Kara not working at a doctor's office anymore.
Yeah.
I live in constant fear that she is going to get me sick because of some sick person there. Oh, it's the worst.
Have you heard the story about the Aussie nurse? And I feel like your wife being a nurse, I shouldn't tell you this story.
Well, she's not a nurse. She's a nurse aide.
Okay. So look it up. I believe it was late last year or early this year. A male nurse in Australia was coughed on by a patient, and he ended up getting some kind of infection and died.
I have a pretty bad cough myself. Have for a long time.
Have you been checked out?
I mean, not like.
This doesn't sound good.
No,
You just mentioned that as a side note.
I'm not talking like Fightful Select Jimmy Van cough fit type of cough.
Which you had yourself like a week or two ago. Remember?
Yeah, I did. I choked.
Yeah. That's called karma. That's what that is.
I don't know about all that.
Tell me about the cough. I want to know about this cough.
I used to have pleurisy.
What's that?
It's kind of like a buildup of hey, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I just used to deal with it. I have a spot, which ironically was a big injury of mine when I did MMA, between my shoulder blade and my spine. But I had pleurisy there, and every time he would cough, it would be like debilitating in that particular area. And I had to go to the hospital. I think it's like a lung buildup or something. I actually had a collapsed lung when I was in middle school. I had to use a nebulizer and a bunch of horse shit like that until I was off of it.
You're just a weak, frail human being.
Oh, I am. Dude, I got a bone bruise from a wiffle ball the other day.
I saw you post something on social media about that.
It's unbelievable. And, like, you can't be mad at that. You can just be like, God damn,
laugh
a wiffle
about
ball
it.
did that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've had I've had a cough since then, which the funny thing is I've noticed it happens a lot more on my podcast. People will see me mute and I will kind of cough off the air. But just standing around, I don't necessarily have it.
Maybe it's because of cottonmouth from all the talking.
Yeah, maybe.
Have you been checked out for this long-time cough?
Nah, healthcare here sucks.
Don't you think that if you've had a cough for more than a few days, you should go get it checked out?
I mean, it's not like something that disturbs me throughout the day. I've worked with you for 2 years and you've never noticed it. So, meanwhile,
that doesn't mean that you might not be sitting.
That doesn't mean you immediately expressed concern.
You could be sitting on some kind of a long-term debilitating illness and you don't know because you won't go to a doctor.
I mean, possibly. Yeah, possibly.
What a sweetheart.
Trying to get Melissa to trade me that citizenship. She fell in love with the heartland of America.
Did you, Melissa?
Yeah, I did a little road trip.
She was firing assault weapons.
I've done that before. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I have too, but I'm American, so you would expect it.
Well, you would. You would, yeah. I think you need to get... Let me tell you a quick story, Sean. Remember when I did the colonoscopy? And I did it because I had a couple of occasions of bleeding, right?
No,
that's
you
why
did it for the fun.
Yeah, that's why. Even though they knock you out, yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah, I said, boy, what can I do this week to get in a hospital gown again? What can I do? So anyway, after I did that, I was talking to a friend who was talking about his friend, telling me that his friend has had rectal bleeding daily for weeks at the time. For weeks. And I said to him, don't you think that your friend might want to get that checked out? And he said, he's all right. This is how people die suddenly, Sean.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they don't want to go get checked out.
Soon, I will get checked out. Before my wife stops working at this doctor's office, I will go get checked out by that doctor's office.
There you go. There you go. I always look at it like this. Whenever I have any kind of a pain or something, I give it like a week. Unless it's something that seems serious, I'll give it like a week, maybe 2 weeks. If it doesn't go away by then, I get it checked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Joseph Farley said, Sean isn't getting an appointment because Eastern Kentucky doctors are too busy with opioid patients, and that is the damn truth.
I was wondering in your part of Kentucky, so have you seen the Simpsons episode when like the mayor, the president or whatever of Australia is sitting in a kiddie pool or he was like fishing? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
And they're yelling to each other, "Hey, Andy!" And these are the politicians in this Aussie town. I wonder if in your part of Kentucky, your mayor basically spends his days like sitting by a pond.
I'm going to regret telling you this story.
I was right and I made it up, Nigel.
There are a couple stories.
I made it up and I was right.
There are two. The first story, there's this guy.
This is why I do this podcast, Nigel. Go ahead, Sean.
There's this guy in our town. He's a rough-looking fella. His pants are always hanging off his ass. He's in horrible shape. He has a trailer. Nothing against trailers. I lived in one forever, but he intentionally, like, I think it's a conscious effort to not take care of it, because across the road from him is a $250,000 house. Here, that would be, like, in Toronto, that's like $1 million house, easy. He ran for mayor one year, or was planning to, unopposed. And people were concerned. Like, one of my friends said, move back. And I was like, no, I'm never doing that. But fortunately, he dropped out. The person that he would have replaced was a person who resigned as mayor, and this is not a paying job out here, obviously. It's such a small town. This person resigned after she got into a fist fight at a Little League game and got punched out. Perhaps justly so.
Have you ever been to your local mayor's office?
We do not have a mayor's office. If you want to ask me, have I been to our post office that is 150 feet from my front door? Yes, I have. That's the closest.
So the mayor works from home?
Yeah, if we even have one right now. We legitimately might not have a mayor. We have like a city council and shit like that.
Do you guys have indoor plumbing where you're at in Kentucky?
Barely. Barely.
Well,
like
whatever.
one time, this house, 140 years old, they couldn't find my septic tank when they looked for it. They were like, it might be buried underneath your neighbor's yard. It might be like underneath your house right now. They couldn't find it.
I joke around, but in reality, the town that I'm from, because it's also small, we have what they call a reeve. R-E-E-V-E, reeve. And that's basically what you call a mayor in a tiny little municipal village. They don't call it a mayor, they call it a reeve.
Well, yeah, we have those. Or it's pretty much what we have. It's not paid. They don't really do much.
Right,
but,
right.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
Guys, visit FightfulSelect.com. I have the members-only podcast this week with Aaron Hayden, who you all will know as Hustle the Savage on Twitter. Does great work for us. Does NFL draft analysis. Lots of cool stuff. He writes The Spare Room on Fightful.com. I have the Fightful Select Weekender podcast this weekend as well. I'm going to do that UFC rankings breakdown when it's released. I have my thoughts on last week's Impact written on the site, Raw, SmackDown scripts, and we're doing Stupid People Extended. Follow him at Jimmy Van74. Follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow us at Fightful Online. We are out.
FightfulSelect.com.
I should have plugged Lindsay's Twitter.